Meanwhile, away from Wordsworth's simple rusticity, among fashionable and elegant society, how you spoke was a key to your social standing, and nowhere was more fashionable than Bath. If you could not talk properly here, you were inviting ridicule. Richard Brinsley Sheridan, son of Thomas the Elocutionist, set his comedy The Rivals here, and gave us one of the most ridiculous speakers of English in its history.
There, sir, an attack upon my language. Oh. What do you think of that? An aspersion upon my parts of speech. Was ever such a brute? Sure, if I reprehend anything in this world, it is the use of my oracular tongue and a nice derangement of epitaphs.
The glorious Mrs. Malaprop, under full sail, putting the wrong words in the right places. Her name comes from French mal à propos, meaning inappropriate. It entered the dictionary in 1849 as malapropism. Make no delusion to the past, she says, and she's as headstrong as an allegory on the banks of the Nile. She could represent Sheridan's dig at his father, Thomas's pedantry, but she's also a reflection of a society in which the education of women was widely thought to be unnecessary. But that was changing. Richard Sheridan's grandmother had had no education, but his mother was an accomplished writer. At the turn of the 19th century, more and more women were reading as well as writing. Subscription libraries were making books widely and cheaply available to more and more readers. Female readers created an appetite and a market for novels, works of romance and sensibility which earned little respect or no respect among intellectuals. Yet out of this atmosphere and out of this city came a woman who helped the novel to be recognised as writing in which wit, brilliance, depth and variety could find expression every bit as impressive as could be found in the more established forms of poetry and drama. The novel, especially her novels, became the benchmark for good English. She was, of course, Jane Austen, whose prose was to clarify the English of that Enlightenment romantic era to a crystalline standard never achieved before and rarely since. In a way, she became the academy Dr. Swift and Dr. Johnson had dreamed of.
And what are you reading, miss? Oh, it is only a novel, replies the young lady, while she lays down her book with affected indifference or mounting shame. It is only Cecilia, or Camilla, or Belinda, or in short, only some work in which the greatest powers of the mind are displayed, in which the most thorough knowledge of human nature, the happiest delineation of its varieties, the liveliest effusions of wit and humour are conveyed to the world in the best chosen language.
The world of Austen's novels is one in which a single man in possession of a good fortune is in want of a wife, and a single woman in want of a husband in possession of a good fortune. But they have to prove themselves worthy to each other and to society. They are judged. There's a whole lexicon of social acceptability in Jane Austen's work, words like agreeable, appropriate, delicacy, discretion, eligible, order, propriety, respectable, and unfit. Yet Jane Austen has her boundaries. The language of the streets is kept firmly outside the Austen door. The language of bodily parts was not allowed in the Austen parks and drawing rooms. In her own way, Jane Austen was every bit as masterful and controlling as the men whom time has seen her surpass. Her own proper and correct use of English has permeated the minds and sensibilities of hundreds of thousands of her readers. Swear words would never do. The human body had become the great unmentionable of Jane Austen's time, and to deal with it, English had produced a fantastically inventive list of euphemisms. These are all polite terms for the male organ from popular speech or writers of the 18th century. Not that Jane Austen or any of her heroines would have let them pass their lips.
Tailpipe, pilgrim's staff, Captain Standish, silent flute, pike of pleasure, mutton dagger, Cupid's torch, chink stopper, Nimrod, the mighty hunter, His Majesty in purple cap, beloved guest, picklock, pleasure pivot, pump handle, dear morsel, and Dr. Johnson, because there was no one that Dr. Johnson was not prepared to stand up to.
It can seem comical today, as though avoiding the word could avoid the thought. But that's a testament to the power of language. It was all part of putting English in its place. English was treated by the self-appointed censors as if it were an unruly mob, a subversive faction, a party of revolution. And reputation was no armour against their assault. It was the 18th century that first took the scissors to Shakespeare, removing hundreds of lines with words like whore and strumpet and devil. This prudery, as we would see it, was a product of the society whose idea of elegance and decorum had produced Johnson and Jane Austen. It was the ultimate result of Johnson's notion that language was the dress of thought, and that heroic sentiments were degraded by common words. Remove the words, remove the thought. But English wasn't going to lie down. Johnson, remember, had also objected to the use of trade terms. Trade terms had no place in Jane Austen's world, but trade terms were about to reinvigorate the English language.